A very good evening to you and welcome to our series of programs Equal Partners based on equality, and this campaign was initiated by the National Committee on Women, Ministry of Women and Child Development in collaboration with Men Engaged Alliance, supported by the United Nations Development Programme. Today as well we have two research personnel who's going to talk about something very important. We've been doing this last week as well. So this week as well we are going to touch on equality, which is our main focus. So let me welcome Dakshita Vikramaratne, member of the Men Engaged Alliance, Sri Lanka. A very good evening to you.
Thank you for having us.
And we also have Maheshi Herath. Good evening to you, Maheshi.
Good evening.
She's the Research, Reporting and Communications Specialist, Capacity Development for Local Government Project attached to the UNDP. A very good evening to you. And it's time for us to take a look at our very first video, and this is on making decisions.
From a young age, something that was always ingrained in my mind was that men should be the breadwinners for a family. Through my father's own behavior, I realized that because some men support their households economically, they automatically have the power to make all decisions for the entire household. In our house, it was my father that made decisions. So, it was natural for me to believe that the male figures play the role of a decision maker as well. Since now I work and earn a living of my own, I thought I should be the one to make the decisions at home. As my wife didn't have the ability to do on her own, neither do my children. For an example, when my wife prepares food every day, she always asks me what I would like to eat. I make the decisions on what everyone else eats as well. When there is something concerning my son or my daughter's education, my wife asks me about what should be done. This led me to think that I not only make the financial decisions in the family, but I make the final decisions on everything. Decisions like how many children are we going to have or when we should engage in sexual intercourse are all decided by me. After a few years after the children were born, I thought that their day-to-day activities took place according to my likes and dislikes. I didn't give them the space to make their own decisions. But this did not continue for long. One day my daughter asked me if it was right that I should make all the decisions at home just because I was the man of the house or because I earned the money. Wasn't it necessary for me to respect the opinions of all my family members in order to build a beautiful family life? This made me stop and think about my own day-to-day behavior. I realized that I had controlled everything in the house. Everyone had worked according to my plans and the way I wanted them to do. It was only the food that I liked, prepared in the way I liked, that was cooked in the household. We went on trips to places that I chose. I understood that the happiness of my family members was hindered and shouldn't be controlled by me. We took steps to listen to everyone's ideas and make collective decisions. From that day on, I saw the happiness in my wife and kids through their smiles and laughter. Everyone was interested and helped out with the housework. However, it wasn't easy for me to make the changes immediately. This is because in our society, all my friends were still making the decisions for their own households. I believe that they still haven't realized their own loss in that. But I will take the initiative to have a discussion with my own friends, bearing the happiness of their families in mind. I want to be an example in our society and a family member that respects the opinion of others. From my own experience, I know that such understanding and respect in the family leads to happiness and peace for all.
That certainly was a thought-provoking video, and now it's time for us to take a look at the second video, which is My Mother Does Not Like Me in the Kitchen. So let's have a look at it, and our Discussion today will revolve around these two videos, so let's have a good look at this now.
This is my mother. She is the only one in charge of all the housework at home. She goes to work, comes back, and then again starts all the housework. If I go into the kitchen and ask to help her with something, she tells me that work in the kitchen is only for women or girls, that I should attend to work outside. This usually means cutting down tree branches, repotting flowers, chopping wood, or rehusking coconuts. But I have an interest in learning to do the rest of the household chores as well, from sweeping the house to keeping my room tidy, washing the dishes, and cleaning the bathroom in the house. My mother insists, however, that women's work shouldn't concern the men, so she ends up having to do all the work by herself. At the end of the day, I see that she's very tired. But she never says this. I don't think this is my mother's fault or our fault. This is how she had been brought up in her family. But now, times have changed. There is no gender division. Everyone learns different types of work. My biggest challenge is to teach my mother to change her traditional behavior on this and to divide her work amongst the men as well when it comes to housework. To involve everyone in doing housework. I know that otherwise my mother will be tired of this someday. Even now, I have heard my mother saying how difficult it is to do all the housework alone when no one gives her any support. Tell your mothers too that housework shouldn't be done by women alone. The responsibility lies with everyone in the house. My mother is now working towards changing her perception on this. I have heard my friends say too, that as much as they would love to learn housework, their mothers tell them there is no need for them to come into the kitchen, that they should go and attend to their studies instead. It could be something they tell us out of love, but I must tell my loving mother that if I learn to do the housework from a young age, it will be very useful for my life someday in the future.
Look at two videos. One was on making decisions, and the one you just watched was my mother does not like me in the kitchen. So today we will be talking more on this. We will be elaborating on these topics with our two personalities here in the studios. So first and foremost, Dakshita, what's your view on the videos we just watched as a male?
Thank you, Sharifa, once again for having us here. And I think first of all, for me, the important thing is what's the most relevant ingredient to a successful family, and I think it's happiness. So if one's voice is not properly heard within the household, which is the most safest place for any human being, your family, your home, and I think then that person is not happy. So what I want to wear when I go out, what I want to study, particular course I'd like to take, or even where I want to go on a vacation. And if that voice is not heard from the people in the household, then one wouldn't be really happy, and that would lead to an unsuccessful family. So I think as particularly men who are stereotypically seen as the leaders of the households have a responsibility in terms of really listening to each other, especially your wife, your partner, your children, to know what they really want to do and make sure that they are happy. So that's number one. Number two is largely from a rights-based perspective. I think every human being in Sri Lanka has a right to make their own independent decisions. Constitution, Sri Lankan Constitution, Article 12 says that none of the human beings, irrespective of their sex or race, should be discriminated by law, and they have the opportunity to make their own decisions. So from a health and well-being point of view, if women are not being able to make independent decisions about their health, particularly around family planning, I think that would lead to a lot of unwanted issues around maternal health mortality and many other issues related to their sexual and reproductive health and well-being. So I think women should be able to make those decisions independently, and within the household, they should be safe. They should be safe from violence. They should be able to make the decision they want to make. And so I think that's the second point I actually felt in terms of being a man, whether if I'm part of a household, whether I'm actually listening to my family members in terms of making those decisions.
And how about you?
So actually the two videos showcase like very common gender stereotypical behavior and thinking that we see in society. So what sort of interested me in this video, in these two videos, is that women are sometimes the group that perpetuates this type of behavior. We do it involuntarily, of course. So in the video also the son says that sometimes out of love perhaps the mother tells you not to come into the kitchen. So as women, I think we also have a huge role to play in getting this equal space that we are talking about. We also need to sort of ensure that we, in our behaviors, in the messages that we give to our children, to our brothers, our family members, that we need to sort of show that we are also interested in taking them into the discussion, into the space that they like they are part of. And so on the other hand, as women, specifically during this COVID-19 situation, we saw how difficult it is for women to balance both work life as well as house life.
Exactly, when they're at home, they're not considered as people who are working, whereas we have like a lot of work to do.
Exactly, because now the roles have changed. Now women are more are breadwinners. They are handling the responsibility of financial support to the family with the husband or the partner. So but the thing is, they also have to ensure that the meals are cooked on time, the children are taken care of. So I have friends who have told me personally that it's really difficult when the children are at home to balance this, how to like be on Zoom calls all the time
And
with
this is
the children.
especially for women who are already working.
Exactly. So the challenges are there. It's a process, I think. So when we think about our childhood, I cannot remember seeing a lot of men in the kitchen. But there are changes. With times we change, progressive changes, but I think as individuals there's a long way to go for both genders. Yeah, so I think those videos showcase very important things in our community.
It is a very important message, whereas sometimes the guy or a man would love to get into bakery field or maybe love cooking, so it should all start at home. So if they don't accommodate, you feel like, am I wrong? Am I feeling for the wrong profession or something like that? So I guess sometimes we are also in our comfort zone, whereas you know, women will do the needful when it's at home, and the man will do the needful outside of home. So maybe it's now that we are so used to it that we kind of feel comfortable doing whatever we are doing, and we don't like to like step forward and speak about it. So what do you think should be done? I'll talk to Dakshita now. What do you think should be done in terms of educating the kids from a very young age as to the importance of respecting each other's interests and about equality?
Yeah, I think it's a very important point what you said in terms of teaching kids at a very young age in terms of the differences, because I think there's a lot of pressure coming from society in terms of keeping these gender stereotypes. Men are supposed to do these kind of work, and women are supposed to do these kind of work. And it's really important from an educational point of view in the school curriculums how we portray a picture of a mother, for an example. When we were studying, I always saw a picture of a mother with a broom and a father is someone with a briefcase. So that itself sends a message that women are supposed to, do cleaning and household chores, whereas men should be the breadwinners. So I think we have to start there. We have to start from educating children in terms of the right thing. As she said, the roles are changing now. Many women are in the labor force now. Many women are earning. And that's what it has to be, in terms of teaching the students. And secondly, I think there's a lot of requirement from a leadership point of view in the society, either in the private sector or even in the parliament. We have a need for better leaders, better managers. And I think from a household point of view, if we have that opportunity for everyone to share their responsibilities, everyone to have their voices heard, everyone to take up leadership responsibilities, then I think we'll be able to have better leaders in the society and even in the political sphere.
Your take on this, Mahesh?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you said. Actually, I think it starts from you, in the sense you need to really self-analyze as to sort of see whether you are doing it right. Am I doing it right? Am I sort of perpetuating equal spaces, or am I sort of perpetuating gender stereotypical thinking and behavior? So it's difficult, as the videos also suggest. It's really difficult because we've been doing this without knowing sometimes, but we as individuals are very powerful. We have our own circles, we have our family, we have our friends, workplace, all of those we sort of influence people without us knowing. So that self-analysis is very important. So at home, if you have kids, let them, like, get them involved in the day-to-day work. Don't push the girl child into the sort of like more feminine, traditional feminine work. Let them also know that this is how you should behave in the future. So, and even at workplace, when women and men are engaging, you need to stop and think whether we are giving equal space for the women to speak. Sometimes women are not like comfortable in speaking when men are the majority in a table, but you should stop and think whether you are giving equal opportunities. So it starts with you. I strongly believe that it starts with you.
Exactly, and we see a huge difference when it comes to a family with boys and girls, and then when you take a family with just girls, just boys, only then you realize that, you know, you can't separate the shows. You can't say you've got to do this and this kid has to do that because you're a guy and a girl. So when it comes to the same gender, that's when I think parents start thinking, okay, now we can't have that stereotypical mindset over here. So I guess this should apply to every family, every household, as you very correctly mentioned. Everything starts at home. I think it starts from the toys you give to the kids as well. As you mentioned, that it's important to, you know, start from a school level and educate them, because I still remember my books also have pictures of mom at the kitchen or maybe with a broomstick. It's very stereotypical, and I think it's not just in Sri Lanka, it happens in many other countries as well. We are used to seeing the lady working at the kitchen. And we've come towards the latter part of the show as well. So as a final, I would like to ask you, what kind of message would you like to give? Because there's a lot of youth who are tuned in, and I think they can carry this forward.
I think the youth should be the change they wish to see. It starts with them, and they can change, they can question the stereotypes, they can question the roles, and they can ask these questions. They can use social media, for an example, to, you know, have these conversations, initiate these conversations. And they can join the Men Engage Alliance Sri Lanka Facebook page, for an example. We do sessions with them in terms of helping them to break these stereotypes, in terms of creating equal opportunities.
How does the Men Engage Alliance work?
Men Engage Alliance works with different partner organizations, including the UNDP and many other organizations who are working on gender equality. And right now we have a special program for young people in Sri Lanka. We work with university students. Of course, with the COVID pandemic regulations, we are working virtually, but we have sessions for different types of topics, and we engage young people in the 3 languages in Sri Lanka, English, Sinhala and Tamil. We conduct these sessions. So we are happy to invite young people in Sri Lanka to join these conversations and start questioning these stereotypical gender roles and be the change they wish to see.
And do you get like a good response from the youth nowadays?
We do. I think it's quite natural for someone to experience the privileges they have given because of the patriarchal gender norms. So sometimes, as you said, the different types of decisions they would like to make would be difficult for them because there's a peer pressure coming in terms of, okay, you are a boy, these are the jobs you need to do, these are the types of career opportunities you have. So a lot of young people are questioning these things. Also girls, some of the girls need to become doctors and engineers and pilots, and we see that actually happening right now. And these women are really inspirational. The first Sri Lanka to summit Mount Everest is a woman, right? So these are very inspirational roles, and you have that actually happening in Sri Lanka. So there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of appetite to engage in these conversations by young people, and we are happy to facilitate these forums.
Maheshi, your message to the youth.
Yeah, so youth are a powerhouse. I mean, they make the changes, and they are the leaders in the future. So they, at the same time, they have a huge responsibility as well. I think they need to challenge this stereotypical thinking. I think they by nature, they have that questioning nature in them. So use it in a positive way to question this gender stereotypical thinking, and also study the women in your life. Study the women in your life and understand the challenges that they are going through, so that it can be your mother. Sometimes you don't actually know where they're coming from. You know that she has married your father and she comes from this family, but really, what are the challenges that she undergoes every single day?
So it's high time, I think, parents also open up.
Exactly.
I think the mothers also should kind of break that barrier where you tell only the good stuff and everything's like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what happens. Most of the time we don't know the bitter truth.
Yeah.
I think we should kind of get there.
Yeah, get there. And I think heroes are amongst us. We look for outside to see heroes, but it's actually they're living with you right there next to you. So I think you can understand better when you speak up, open up, and sort of challenge this thinking, and also talk about them on social media and sort of make it the cool thing to give equal space for women. I think the youth is more than capable of doing that, and if that happens, I think we will have a very good future in Sri Lanka and a better country, and yeah, I think that should be the way to go.
Exactly. So I think we've discussed a lot on what the youth can do and how to change the mindset. So we hope that this could, I think, be initiated in school level as well. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much, Dakshita, and thank you, Maheshi. It was really nice talking to you, very informative indeed. It's time for us to conclude this program, the episode, where we featured videos on making decisions and my mother does not like me in the kitchen. But we have a few more to go, and we will be focusing on amazing, thought-provoking topics on equal partners. So do join us on the next episode. Thank you so much.